was not that bad.
All views expressed by the hosts and guests in this podcast are solely their opinions and do not reflect the opinions of their respective employers. Guests and hosts may maintain positions in the assets discussed in this podcast. This podcast is for informational purposes only, and nothing in the podcast is intended to be financial, legal, or even life advice.
Welcome back to More Than Speculation. What's up, man? And today's episode, we have a special guest. We have Miguel from Nillion. So again, as per tradition, every time we have a guest on the pod, we will start with some interesting question to begin with. I'll pass it on to you, Lambro.
Okay. Tech, token price, or community? What's more important?
I think first is tech, and then ultimately community. But it has to be like tech first, community then, and then finally token price. So I think in that order. Depends on the stage of the project.
Okay. If not Nillion, what kind of things are interesting in crypto right now?
If not what?
If not a Nillion. If not your project
not
right now.
So yeah, okay. So I'm really bullish about decentralized agents. I think it's really cool, and also zk-TLS. I'm really I like it very much. I think it has a lot of potential. Those two things.
Your thoughts on meme coins?
They're good. I mean, they show one aspect of the community, which is speculation. They could get interesting with if they evolve through tone games and other stuff. I think it's part of what we are as an industry, so they're fine. But there has to be something else, right? It cannot be all meme coins.
100%. I know I look like this right now, but I actually agree with you.
All right. Do you still have a couple more?
No. Let's go. Let's get into it.
Let's bust right into it. So again, I think for our uninitiated listeners, it would be great if you can tell a bit more about Nillion, but specifically what I'm curious about is what's your crypto story? Because I looked a bit into your background. You are a very distinguished researcher. I'm just curious, like what happened particularly, that made you decide you want to go full time and build something in crypto?
Yeah, I think I got introduced into crypto through maths. So I was very interested in first AI and then zero knowledge proofs. So I got into cryptography. I think I was like in 2013. So that was my kind of segue into crypto, because essentially I started working in Web 2 with zero knowledge proofs, and then suddenly I found, there's something called privacy coins, and they use like Zcash and Monero, and they use ZKP. So I got interested in 2017. Actually
2017
designed a coin, privacy coin that never got launched, but with ZKP, and it was pretty cool. So that was my first contact, and then of course you start trading as well. So I did a trading bot for myself, which is still working, and that led me to more privacy-enhancing technologies beyond ZKP. Because fun fact, ZKP is not the only thing in cryptography. Although sometimes it looks like in Web3 there are other things. So for example, multi-party computation or fully homomorphic encryption. So I got really interested in those, and I may cover later on why. But that's what essentially that's when I decided, well, let's go full in Web3. Let's create actually a Web3 project, which is Nillion.
Got it. So what is Nillion?
So Nillion is, you can understand it or look at it as a new form of Web3 infrastructure that is able to handle private data. So you can store and you can compute on private data, but it's even better than the privacy that you get in Web 2, because in Web 2, privacy is actually broken because the service providers, they get to decrypt your information. But what we're working here with is a decentralized form of privacy, whereby no one, including us, can actually decrypt your information. So we thought that was kind of a missing piece in Web3 that is kind of, it's actually like a step back from Web 2 in that regard. It's like, Web 2, at least you have this broken privacy, but in Web 3, without any privacy, you have like essentially everything public on blockchain. So we thought that it was interesting to unlock this space. And that's why we created Nillion. And that's what it is. You can think of it as a compute layer and storage layer for private data in a decentralized way.
Just to add on a little bit. So how does it work? Let's say for someone that's not as infra or tech background, how would you explain Nillion in a way where does it import your data from regular days on-chain, or is it just as a privacy layer for your on-chain activity or new data that you're going to build on-chain?
Yeah. So this thing can exist on its own. You can use it for Web 2.5. Like, I have an idea, for example, from Web 2, I want to create like a version of it with some decentralized infrastructure. You can do that. But also you can use it from existing Web3 applications. So the infrastructure essentially listens for events in different blockchains, and then it can execute and run computations on our infrastructure, and then it can publish back on a blockchain, on a smart contract, the results from a computation. So you can think of it, when you look at it from the standpoint of Web3, as maybe as a layer 2 that is able to run privacy-preserving, smart contracts. But it's actually, you can also look at it also like from a Web2 perspective and say, oh, now I can finally create a decentralized version of the service, Web2 service that I always, was really excited about.
Got it. So I wanted to ask you something specifically about some of the language that you've used before, particularly around what do you mean, I guess, when you convey the message that you're like a non-blockchain, decentralized, like technology instead, or what was the reasoning behind the use of that?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Sometimes we tend to latch on like terminology that is very high level. So essentially what I'm talking about is that when you look at the architecture from Nillion, we do have a blockchain. It happens to be Cosmos, but it really doesn't matter because we are able to connect to other blockchains as well, as I said before. So essentially we use it for coordination. Coordination of what? Of this blind, what we call a blind computer, which is this private decentralized layer. So what does it look like? It looks like a collection of clusters, so a collection of networks. Each one is like operating independently from the other, so you don't need to reach a global consensus. It looks like if a blockchain is like a monoprocessor, because everything has to go through this single CPU of consensus. This thing looks like a multiprocessor because every cluster kind of operates independently, very much independently. So that's why we were talking about a different thing, because there's no such thing as a global consensus. And you have these clusters and they operate pretty much independently from one another. All they do is ingest data, compute on it, and produce outputs, all of that in a privacy-preserving way. So that's why we talk about kind of have a different form of decentralized network. And the reason why it's decentralized is because you have several nodes and you have the same things you would expect from blockchain. For example, you talk also about Byzantine fault tolerance and things like that. But it's like another beast. It's like another type of tech.
So,
does that make sense?
Yeah. Makes perfect sense. Thank you. So first, I want to say I've been loving your posts on Twitter. You guys been doing good videos, and then you have your quick shorts of explaining the bullet points from the white paper. I think it was you directly, right? It was you that was. You look very handsome there more. Maybe edit a little bit, but yeah.
More than now that I just came back from Bangkok and I'm really jet lagged.
And you look
Appreciate you doing this, yeah.
But yeah, so, and you guys did a very well job in, not gonna lie, I love your marketing team, and I think it's very important, and there's not enough info teams that do. So you guys did a tuk-tuk.
Yeah.
Wow, I was like, yeah.
That was awesome. That was so good.
The event style.
Yeah, actually, it was so powerful that I was just talking about tech to people, and they were like looking at this and they're, oh, you're the tuk-tuk dudes. In the end, that's what connected to people.
Capture the IQ 50 side of crypto that way.
Exactly. Totally.
Yeah.
Okay. So my question is that, let's say as a retail that doesn't know how to develop or use the tech, what should they look forward to, or let's say your mainnet is coming or everything is doing, what's the go-to-market strategy? As a normal blockchain, it's clear, right? It launches, there's DEX, there's swaps, there's NFTs, blah, blah, blah. And what would that look like differently from you?
Yeah, so we launched two elements. One is the Cosmos blockchain, and then the other is this other blind computer, this decentralized new kind of technology. So each one has its own roadmap, it's going to be in testnet, and then it's going to be in mainnet. The first one going is obviously the Cosmos chain, because we need coordination and we need a token. and the other one is also kind of following up shortly after. But you can already develop stuff on the testnet from the blind computer, from this type of decentralized. Only that you have to be careful because it's testnet, so be careful with information you put there. Mm-hmm. But yeah, essentially it's like two-staged or two-phased approach, which is different from what you would find in a normal blockchain.
Nice. So when the mainnet or the testnet, actually, what is built on the testnet right now that users can expect to come on mainnet or to like, because sometimes I think it might be too vague for users to see the application point of view now too. So
to have an idea of what this is capable of doing, you can go to masquerade.nillion.com, and there you see a couple of demos. And then on top of that, we have a number of what we call FEs, founder entrepreneurs. Those are developers with whom we really work very closely, and they're building things around AI. So that's a very hot topic. Another hot topic is sort of data to earn. So finally, you can put your private data, your personal data on a Web3 infrastructure. And then the next thing is, I want money for that, right? So this is like a market, it's a market with two sides. The supply side, which is the user providing their data. You incentivize that through tokens. And then you have the demand side, which is companies computing on your data with your permission, of course, without seeing your data, of course, just the insights. And then they pay you for that. So that would be the data to earn. We have several projects on that. But you also have data to access. So, for example, if you want to access, some service, maybe you need to do some computations, like maybe some credit scoring stuff where you only see the final score, but you have all the information there. So, yeah, those data-intensive projects, I think, is a very interesting kind of pattern that we're seeing in developers. And then you have more traditional ones, like expanding Web3 cases, for example, private decentralized exchanges, right? Where you want to keep the asks and the bids private, and you want to kind of do the whole thing, but under privacy.
Nice. So if I quickly summarize, it sounded like when it starts, there's apps that you can contribute your data or build your profile and somehow use that data to do alternative applications such as credit score to, I guess, lending or sell your data to people to earn a fee, like data to earn kind of thing. On top of that, if you were to do transactions on the normal DeFi side of things, you can be masked off to have prevent yourself from MEV and all those kind of stuff.
Yeah. And if we put them like chronologically, I think the data to earn are coming first. The next iteration on those will actually run AI models on your data, so they will be really sophisticated. It won't be just about storing, but also about computing stuff for the demand side of the marketplace. And then in parallel, this other stream of kind of Web3 enhanced service with privacy that you mentioned. Yeah.
Nice.
Got it.
Sorry, Marco.
No, I just want to take a step back a bit. And curious to hear your opinion on, given that you've been around since 2017, you were aware of the early privacy coins. Why do you think that the privacy side of crypto has arguably not taken off as much, in the past 7 years, let's say? And again, I guess it's a two-pronged question. That's the first one. And two, given that fact, why are you particularly interested in solving this problem, I guess?
Yeah, very good question, actually. So there is this story about, I'm coming from a bunch of islands in the Atlantic Ocean. And there is this island which has a cave, pitch dark, with blind crabs. They don't have eyes. In a sense, I think Web3 is a little bit like that. It was created around those use cases that don't require privacy. So you go to those crabs and say, look, guys, we have why don't you put eyes on your whatever, on your body? And they say, what for? We live in this pitch dark cave. We don't need eyes for anything. It's the same with Web3. You come and look, guys, why don't you use privacy for your applications? I say, what the hell are you saying? What are you talking about? We don't need that. We were created around finance, and finance is mostly about public data. It's actually a good feature to have all the transactions public, so you can inspect them and check them against double spending, all those things. So we don't really need privacy. And I think the privacy coins, they kind of suffer from that because the starting point was already something where privacy has very, very little value. But that doesn't mean that that there is an outside world outside of that cave where you do need eyes, and actually eyes are the main thing that you need. So we are kind of trying to broaden the space, open the kind of the perspectives of Web3, and actually point to that world and say, well, look, if you actually mix private data with decentralization, with decentralized infrastructure, you can do amazing things. You can start, like this data to earn stuff that wouldn't be possible on Web3 without privacy. So we think that there is a lot to, there's a huge space to unlock and discover if you put eyes on those crabs. Did I just call crabs to Web3? I don't know, but yeah.
No, like I just want to add, it's interesting that you frame it that way. And again, I'm pontificating a bit here, but it's almost like the state of crypto right now is mature enough to, like, the crab needs to go outside and see what's outside of the cave, right? Like otherwise we're not going to grow the market cap to multiple trillions. Again, some of us might have used DeFi a lot before, and like one thing that I remember people are saying is that as long as DeFi is a debit-based system, it will never grow into like a real economy because the world runs on credit, on a credit-based system, right? And the whole entire effort of trying to do DeFi credit score or like decentralized credit scoring, it just doesn't work so far. And part of it is like privacy, blah, blah. That's a different podcast. But I think I like the way that you're framing that whole crap and cave kind of thing. So
and in a sense, I just wanted to say that if you look back at 2017, like, it was full of projects which tried to like bring Web3 into Web2, and they failed like big time. Like, oh, let's tokenize, fractionalized ownership of real estate. Oh, let's tokenize
supply chain. That's
tokenize everything, right? And it didn't work. And when you think about it, every single one of these projects required privacy as a key element, because you need that for those industries in Web2. It happens to be like a necessary ingredient, and I would argue that that's one of the reasons why all of those projects failed.
Yeah, to add my 2 cents, like Marco, you mentioned you wonder why a lot of privacy projects did not work before. So I actually enjoyed trading or speculating that part for a while. So like I think there's 2 key things, right? First, not a lot of people are willing to pay that extra fee to use privacy things right now. Secondly, regulation been a bitch to it. And then it's just, we already have fragmented liquidity, fragmented users. By adding more steps to it, like, privacy doesn't work. And in some sense, a lot of privacy tool worked in a way where you need more people to use it, or else you can just figure out who is going into the bridge or going out of the bridge, then you kind of just match the size from it. But I think there's a few turning points here. One of the reasons why I like this project is that because Trump is saying they're gonna lift up the regulation. Like Miguel said, like you do need the infra to go for the next step. And I think crypto in a way is very saturated in what we can do already, and I feel like that's why people are still believing in the long term, but there's not enough other things that can enable long term. That's why we are PvP and speculating on meme coins, just because there are money coming in but we don't know what to do. The alt market, it's like not moving as much as we used to be because we kind of like ran through the whole cycle already, and we do need actual infra or better things to enable the next level of I don't want to say speculation, but speculation. Adoptions.
That's a very good point, Lambros. I think we're kind of suffering from, I mean, the value propositions that we have, the narratives that we have are incremental. It's just more of the same, right? Oh, let's modularize and create, better architectures, like make it faster and so on. But we're in need, I think, for disruptive narrative, something that is kind of expanding the things that Web3 can do. I'm not saying that privacy is that narrative, because maybe it's not a thing in itself. But if you mix that with, for example, decentralized AI, that I think it becomes really powerful. I think that, for example, decentralized AI, you're starting to see, like, again, you put a wallet on it, and then you start, kind of speculating about agents and whatnot. So they become like, you meme coin them, you kind of turn them into an object of speculation. But if you really believe in that that AI is like this new tech, that it's going to change everything, and that we need to decentralize it so that we can remove power away from those, handful of companies that are actually owning the whole value chain right now, and it's really scary. If you really believe that, and you want to take decentralized AI or AI into Web3, you actually need privacy. I think it's a must-have. It ceases to be a feature, and it actually becomes the thing that enables you to move AI into Web3.
So
Also, without that, you just focus on the integrity of the service. Let's make sure that we run the model that we were supposed to run. Okay, that's interesting, but it's not that interesting for AI as it was for transactions. For AI, I think it's actually more interesting to be sure to be able to verify and to make sure that your data is actually not going into a public blockchain or is not going into a company.
Before another question that I was going to ask, do you think do you think by having privacy AI, the performance can never match a centralized AI?
Yes, I think that's the case. I think you're paying two taxes. Tax number one is decentralization. We all know that that's already slowing things down. And on top of that, you're paying privacy as a tax, as another tax. So it's going to be slow. Now, what I would say about that is there's a lot of progress being made on that, right? For example, we just published a paper in collaboration with Meta, which kind of increments or the speed by 10 times. And if you look at the last 6 years, 6 years ago, we were only able to run like AI with a few thousand parameters, and now we're able to do it with 1 billion parameters. Okay, so that's a big progress in a few years. And also, I think it's interesting to think about the nature of our interaction with AI as it evolves. Like, for example, when it went from plain LLMs to actually agents, I think AI is becoming more independent, and we're willing to wait a little bit longer for the responses to come, because now with agents, you kind of, this is your task, go ahead and do some research on this and this and that, and come back with a document summarizing that. It's something that you are willing to wait a few minutes or hours for, because the result is going to be more valuable. It's like the shift that you go when you interact with a soldier, which is like current LLMs are. It's a very low level order, and you expect a result really fast, from going to what you would, the way you would interact with a general. Like, these are your high level orders, go ahead and make it happen. And I'll wait for you, even days, but I want really something big, something intelligent from your side. So I think we're going to see that shift in our relationship with AI, which is more forgiving for privacy-preserving technologies, which is good. And also, it becomes more sensitive, right? The higher the level of your conversations, the more sensitive stuff you will be sharing. Like, you share more information, more sensitive information with a general than with a soldier. So I think those two things combined, like, privacy is going to be, like, the conversations are going to be more sensitive. Plus, they're going to be more forgiving in terms of, the requirements for speed. I think this is the perfect storm for privacy to step in and finally enables us to create a decentralized AI version that is private.
So personally, I've been very obsessed with AI past few months. I feel
Me
like,
too.
correct me if my statement, and more than a few months, bro. but
More than 3 months.
but I was thinking that decentralized or privacy AI would only benefit B2B solutions, and a retail would only use it because the B2B solutions forces them to, just because from the previous example I've seen that, and I feel like that's the only way out, crypto or not. Do you think that statement is correct?
Yeah. I don't think it is correct, but it's not complete. So I do agree that B2B is going to benefit from private decentralized AI for sure. But then think about retail. Think about what this all is taking us to. I think it's taking us to, like, companies ran out of public data to train their models on. So now they're going for private data. They've started with features already that remember some of your conversations. And I think to become really useful for us, for retail, they're going to have to remember our context, to remember who we are, what we think, So they're going to start accessing everything around us, like our message feeds, emails, our conversations. They're going to try and clone us. like create a replica of ourselves that knows everything we know. And this is really powerful because I mean, I really love to have a replica of Miguel to do the boring stuff that I don't want to do. But it's also really, really concerning because if that falls in the power in the hands of a single centralized company, imagine the amount of control that they would have over us, because those agents will know all your, I don't know, blind spots and cognitive biases. So it could be like a weapon of mass manipulation. So I really do think. I really do think that privacy is actually of the essence here, so that we can prevent that, and as well as decentralization, so that we can decentralize that value chain, which is now owned by a handful of companies that like do the data collection, they do the training, they do the inference. I think we should break that into multiple pieces, and we should create marketplaces for data training, collection, marketplaces for training, marketplaces for inference, and all of them decentralized. So I think that in the long run, maybe it's not even that long, actually privacy is of the essence for retail as well, if that makes sense.
That's no, I think that makes perfect sense. I just want to quickly add, that's interesting because I was thinking when you sort of mentioned that there's a couple AI applications that allow you to, like if you speak to the camera for a certain times, that they can make a digital avatar for you doing like YouTube videos, right? It's like those corporate B2B, typical like instructions. Hey, welcome to the company, and like it's no longer like the CEO's actual face, but it's just the AI of the CEOs. But yeah, like now retail seems to be fine giving a lot of that data, but I think yes, like in a sense that if that's wrapped around in privacy, that would be a lot better. And when you sort of mentioned that, it reminds me of like I think Kim Kardashian sold like to Facebook her digital like IP or something like that for Facebook AI for $5 million a year or something. Like I'm not, but like something like that, which I assume even like high profile personalities would definitely want, if there's a privacy solution attached to it.
The way we put it is that we define these 3 levels of data, right? So level 1 is the things you put public, like this podcast and the things you publish on Twitter or whatever. The level 2 is the things you share now with companies in Web 2. Retail doesn't care about those two. I mean, history has proven that we're all fine with giving away that information. Our point or our thesis is that we're talking here about a different type of information that is we call level 3, and those are the things. Imagine that you're having daily conversations all the time with this kind of clone of yourself, this advisor that's going to learn everything about what you think about your boss, your mother-in-law, things you would only share with your therapist. Real weird stuff, like things that could destroy you as your career or whatever. This is a new type of information, I think, and therefore it's not the same as before. It's just like much more sensitive. So I think now retail will care about this. Maybe companies will do it so well that we won't notice until it's too late, but definitely they're going after something completely new that they don't have right now.
Nice. Okay, I think that this has been very entertaining and educating so far, and let's get back to some of our audience most care about. Can you drop me some alpha? So like, I heard you say you can do some data to earn, to participate or stuff. Like, if after this podcast they think, oh shit, this is cool, like what can they do right now, or what kind of stuff they should be looking at, or what dates should they look forward to?
Okay, so of course, you have nodes. I mean, you can run nodes either in the decentralized, blockchain or in the network. There's two different types of nodes. You can become a verifier as well. So those are nodes that run like verification checks on the data to make sure that it hasn't been deleted and the integrity is maintained. You can of course use the products that our FEs are building on. If you're a developer, you can also kind of develop new products. This is like a whole ecosystem. I mean, of things. The same things you would find in a Web3 regular blockchain Web3 ecosystem, plus some new things like this verification stuff that are like only specific to our network. But yeah, there's a whole bunch of things going on with community-wise that you can get involved in.
Nice.
Got it.
Running a node. I thought you guys are, so it's going to be a node running on top of POS, like with the Cosmos SDK, or how does it work actually?
Yeah, so that type of node, yes. And then you can you can run also the other nodes. The other nodes will have like a basic stack of tech that depends on the nature of the clusters, and also the requirements, the hardware requirements might be different. Because for some things you might require GPUs, if for example that cluster happens to be doing AI, or CPU may be enough, or maybe you want TEs so that you can strengthen the security of that cluster. So it really depends. There's going to be a lot of variety, and yeah, almost like any hardware that you have will be useful for some cluster in the network.
Okay, without drilling into too much detail, I'll get Miguel to give us the link to put it in below for people to check out if they want to try doing the notes as well. Okay, if you're thinking should you do the notes or not, I would like to remind everyone they have raised 20 mil. It was actually quite a big accomplishment. Congrats again. How was the crypto journey as a builder so far? Just to add on, like, how was the journey? How's the...
Crazy. I mean, yeah, we this is our second raise. So initially we raised 25, and this has been another 25, so 50 million in total. So initially it was really like unlike any other project I've been into, because of the nature of the co-founders I'm with. So they're really like successful. Like for example, Ander Masanto, he was co-founder of Hedera, and other unicorns. And we had Conrad Whelan, the co-founder, founding engineer of Uber. So it's really and Slava, who's like a CEO of crowdfunding platform Indiegogo. So it's really top level founders. So the first thing that you find different, like from my previous projects, is that you don't have to pay salaries to anyone, because they're actually paying to get in, because they're buying like into the future value of the token, to actually be able to work in this project. So instead of having to pay upfront money as a project, you actually get money from those guys. So it's amazing. But then things start getting like really heavy. So the first phase was heads down building like hell, because no one has done this before, and so there's a lot. You cannot just copy paste any tech stack and I have another blockchain. Right. No, this is like you have to reinvent. Almost like, I mean, compared to what we're doing, I'm sorry, but this is like really it's hard. Right. So you have to reinvent everything. Like the like gossip protocol. Is it gonna be peer to peer? Is it gonna be like what is from bottom up? You have to kind of design everything from scratch. And that was like a phase where there was very little interaction with the outside world. We were like heads down building the thing. And now we came out of the cave, like those crabs. We want to get out of the cave. So essentially now it's been crazy, right? So the community is starting really strong. We have these people building on us. We have the marketing campaigns. So for me, like personally, it went from being in heads down working on maths and protocols to now being like in this
go-to-market side. Yeah,
exactly, on the go-to-market and going to conference and podcasts. And every month it feels like it's more intense than the previous one. Somehow, like the acceleration this thing is taking is like. It's amazing. It's very taxing personally for us, but it's also very exciting. I think I wouldn't change it for anything else.
That's good. What's been the biggest, I guess, just like crypto culture shock for you?
Well, prior to 2017, it was definitely the trading side of it. Like I was used to to Web2 stuff where you need to find a product market fit and you need to find users, and you need to be cash flow positive and stuff like that. And then suddenly you go to crypto, and what matters is narratives. And it's like, what is this?
What the funny thing is? Even if you have the strongest fundamental, if you don't tag on the narrative in crypto, it doesn't work. That's the worst part.
Exactly. It's like users are not enough. Even if you had like millions of users, if you don't have an interesting narrative to latch that into and really connect with people, it's worth nothing. And if I had to choose between the two, I would say that narrative comes first. I mean, meme coms is that, right? It's narrative without no tech underneath, and they're doing really well. So yeah, it is a. But on the positive,
by the way. Because as a lot of infra team gonna be like especially with a researcher background, is gonna be like tech good.
I was just gonna say that. Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
but it's not the case.
I don't want to
It's not
sound
the case.
I don't want to sound like we're shilling you too much, but I was just gonna say, like, hearing that you were around trading in 2017, you made some, like, even your own algo, and then now you understood the infra side. That's actually a very bullish signs, even for like the audience, because you understand both sides of the aisle, and you're not really just like stuck on the IQ 150 side. But
Yeah. There are people like that, right? They are very, very good in tech, but they don't embrace this other side of the business or the market. And I think both are important to understand what it's all about. Because in my trading bots, there's nothing around tech. Like there's no evaluation of the tech to decide whether it's good investing or not on a coin. It's just based on sentiment and things like that. So that's where you see what really matters and what doesn't when it comes to trading.
Because product and token is another thing. Like token is a product, and then your product is another product. There's so many crypto chains that doesn't have a product, but the token product done so well.
Yeah, exactly. And you need to market, I guess, the token product first before even the other product. Yeah.
Got it. So we usually end this pod session with one question that we ask every guest. What do you think you need to have in order to make it in crypto?
Oh, good question. I think mindshare, because this is a new narrative. As I said, it's a disruptive one compared to the other kind of incremental ones that you have. But we need to make it known to people, right? People need to get to know it and figure out that there's this new infrastructure that is able to doing X, Y, Z. So I would say now it's about spreading the word and acquiring some mindshare. I think that's a key ingredient.
Nice.
Got it. On that note, I think we're going to end it. So thanks again for your time, Miguel. And again, please check the show notes for all of the details, all the websites that we mentioned, all of the future announcements, and stay tuned to what Nillion is going to do next. Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you, guys.